So, how do we determine human inner development? It seems like a very sensitive and ethical topic because every time a discussion around this topic is initiated, people become very triggered by it. They become very emotional, even angry. So, stay with me for a second, and I will not only give you an insight why you or other people might be triggered by this, but also why this is an essential topic for human evolution. So in the last weeks, I had several conversations with people where I tried to convey a message and explain my perspective. However, the persons, and I'm not doubting their capacity to listen and understand me, they did not react on my words. And this got me thinking that what I was saying was not resonating with them. Maybe they have not made the same experiences as I did. So that got me thinking about how many experiences do you need to make then to determine that you have reached a certain level of inner maturity. And some people who have not made my experience, they still resonated with my message. They had some kind of empathy towards me. Again, the question arose, how much empathy is a decent amount for inner maturity? Is empathy even a suitable measurement for inner development? So let me give you an example to make this more concrete. And I invite you to observe how you react to my next words. What kind of emotions, what kind of thoughts come to you when I say those next words? Ready? Donald Trump. How do you resonate with it? I admit this is a very extreme example, but I think it makes the point very clear. Either you like what he's doing, having a sense of going against the establishment, or you completely reject him as a person, but also what he stands for, the values that he represents, and how he treats people. But what I would like to make very clear is that it's not the person that we reject, but it is our interpretation of what is happening. Otherwise, how could we explain people's different interpretations of the same situation, of the same phenomenon? So in my work with human business, I'm working on organizational transformation. And during this change work, I'm trying to understand how the human works so that we can find an approach that is actually in line with human nature. And right now I'm reading a book that claims that organizational transformation towards self-management is possible within 90 days, regardless of the industry or company size. And I'm not doubting that it is not possible, because the framework is invitational, so it doesn't put anything on somebody else, and it builds on the aspects of what makes us human. And that is, in my opinion, that we are conscious and social beings. So I'm convinced that this is a great theoretical framework for human-centric organizational change. So why are not more organizations applying this method then? It could be that they simply don't know this method. They're not conscious of it, so they cannot act on something they don't know. Or the method and the message that it conveys, why it is relevant, what are the benefits for the leaders, the employees, and the whole organization, is simply not relevant for the people it addresses. In other words, the outer world message does not resonate with the inner world of the collective people present in that organizational framework, receiving that message. So there are different approaches to determine inner development already, like spiral dynamics by Claire Graves, the ego development stages by Löwinger and Cook-Reuter, The Orders of Consciousness by Keegan, Metamodernism, Medved-Naval by Stella Noddahl, Integral Theory, Frederick Laloux and his book Reinventing Organization, where he connects the different stages of human development to how organizations are designed. In essence, the set of values we have, our worldview, is determining how we look at the world, interpret it, and respond to it with our own behavior. So the question again arises, what worldview is then more advanced than another? Is there one worldview that is better than the other? So what I'm looking for is, what if we would treat our inner development as accurately as we treat the measurement of our outer world? We analyze, we scientifically explore, and this ultimately leads to a better understanding of how the world functions in the outer world. But little is done in regard to the inner world, how we function as human beings. So we have to find, for example, the constants of physics, like gravity. Would it not help us to understand better how we function as humans if we apply such detail-orientedness to our inner functions as well? What if over time we would realize that those constants are actually not constant, but they are ever evolving? But we start with what we know right now about them and then take it from there. Would we not be better equipped to determine what are appropriate next steps for our inner journey, for our inner development? And what if there is no distinction actually between the inner and the outer world? What if we can accept that all perspectives are valid, that all feelings are true? Again, what is needed to even have such an understanding? What is required to come up with such a worldview? So how do you resonate with this, what I just presented? How do we determine humans' inner development?